everyone. This is Ahmed Al-Nahari from Reddington. I would like to thank you for attending today's webinars. I will start by introducing Reddington. Actually, Reddington established on 1993 with 29 years old. Our journey of Reddington started with one brand and one product and one market into $8.4 billion distribution and supply chain solution provider. We distribute for plus 29 international brand in the IT and the mobility space. Currently, we are serving around 38 emerging market. So we are here always to support our partner and our client to satisfy their needs for the solution that they are looking for. I would like to note that if you have any question or anything that related to our topic today, please just write it in the chat box and our speaker will answer your question. And in the end of the webinar, we will share a survey link. So please just write your experience with us so we can learn more about what you have been learning from this webinar. I would like now to pass the mic to Mr. Ali so he can start the webinar and introducing Altivate, our partner. Please, Mr. Ali. Go ahead.
Okay, so good morning, everybody. I tried to start the video, but it didn't work on my end. Going to share some screens in the meantime. Please let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we see it, Mr. Ali.
Okay, so basically, Altivate is a digital transformation company. We are a partner of Reddington and a partner of AWS. And primarily, what we do is we are a bread and butter SAP company by and large. So that's about 90% of our DNA. We were founded in 2010 in the US. And today we are one of the most active SAP partners in the Middle East. So what we realized is in order to drive that strength, okay, and to capitalize on our SAP experience and our SAP track record, which has been very strong, is that we need to expand our capability to AWS. And that was a natural progression as cloud was being more and more adopted, okay? And this is something that we've been working on since our inception, and we started to work more on SAP on AWS. So today, we are a combination of working with SAP and with AWS. And with AWS, we do SAP on AWS, and we complement SAP, our SAP clients, with AWS solutions and services. So we focus primarily on business process improvement, digital transformation. Our focus covers a spectrum of services from ERP to business intelligence, human capital management, procurement, CRM, and so on. We have several industries which we focus on. So under the manufacturing vertical, if you will, healthcare and services, as well as public sector. So this is our focus from an industry perspective. From an SAP solution perspective, we cover the complete portfolio of SAP products, okay, with the exception of very niche solutions. So that's from a product standpoint. From an SAP service perspective, we cover advisory, so for like deal architecture, risk management, PMO, solutioning, software development, implementation, rollout, so on and so forth. And as you will see here, SAP on AWS is one of our niche areas, I would say, or key areas that we focus on. And I would say in all of our clients today, you will see AWS being embedded as part of our solution to the customer. And so how does that happen? We basically architect a portfolio of products in order to deliver on the use case that the customer has. We start with value definition, technology requirements, solution architecture, industry best practices, local requirements, business process consulting, organizational readiness, change management, into delivery and value realization and optimization. So this is, in a nutshell, how we package AWS with our offering. From a customer perspective, we've worked across different customers in the region, from Aramco subsidiaries to holding companies to oil and gas and so on. In the region, we've worked with Marai, we've worked with Nova Water, Mitsubishi Power, we've worked with Farabi Petrochemicals, and with each of these, we've worked with Gulf Medical. Each of these, we have had some AWS involved as part of our engagement from an AWS only standpoint. So if you look at this here, you'll see AWS. These are just some of our customers. So you'll see Gulf Medical, as I mentioned, ISNAD, or Saudi Mining Services Company, which is semi-public sector, Gulf Packaging, or 3P Gulf Group, National Competitiveness Center, Saudi Business Center, Mitsubishi Power, and Al Salim Johnson Controls, just to name a few. Okay. From an SAP perspective, we won 2 awards last year. Best RISE Partner, which is one of the key solutions where we deploy AWS, highest achievement partner as well. And that is by and large due to our capability and strength on SAP, complemented with what we have changed from a tool into a competitive advantage for our customers with AWS. So that's it from my side for now. So back to you, Mr. Ahmed.
Thank you, Mr. Ali. Thank you. And now I would like to introduce our senior pre-sales, Mr. Vidya. Mr. Vidya, you can take it over.
Thank you, Ahmed. Thanks for giving this opportunity to explain about AWS. And thanks, Ali. That's a very good intro about your company and your achievements. I'm glad to hear that. Okay, now I'm going to share my presentation. So today in my presentation, I'm going to discuss about AWS Web Services and SAP on AWS. What is the journey, how it is actually began, and what are the services you can see. And after my presentation, we have a Syed Azim who's going to explain you about what is the advantage to move to AWS cloud or for SAP workloads, and what is the funding program, other opportunities are running for SAP customers. Okay. My name is Vidya Sagar. People call me as Vidya in short, and I'm a senior solution architect for AWS. And the successful projects we have executed along with Ultimate to our customers in the SAP space. Okay, today our agenda is that we talk about introduction to the AWS cloud, and we're going to discuss about a little bit about AWS to understand what AWS, what services we are running. Then I'm going to talk about a little bit more on SAP on AWS journey. Then we're going to talk about some interesting feature for backing up the data on SAP. Those things we're going to discuss. Okay. Okay. So now today, AWS is actually almost spread across the globe. Okay, and we are the first started company who are offering the cloud services. Like 2006, 2004 actually, technically speaking, but 2006 we have officially published our online. So we have started our journey like that, and yeah, we also from AWS side also started with a very small service like a simple queue service, for example, like a messaging system. But today we are grown as big as today you decide to launch a satellite, okay, or satellite station. Within few minutes you can launch a satellite station on AWS cloud. So this will help you to understand how strong we are in the market. Okay, so as I mentioned, we started our journey officially in 2006. Today, we are actually running 200 plus, more than 200 plus services. When you are selecting as an AWS, you don't need to think about only SAP. For example, maybe today you're starting as SAP. Tomorrow, you want to attach any other service like ML or AI services platform to be integrated with your SAP infrastructure. This platform will help you out to do multiple purposes and operations for your data center. Okay, for example, today you started as a SAP customer, but tomorrow you can add up more services according to your business needs. Okay, and what is our pricing philosophy is that, see, today as a customer you have taken one, okay, like C5 X large example. Okay, that's a instance I'm going to talk about in the next coming slides. So for example, C5 X large you have taken as a service, and tomorrow we have launched C6 X large. Okay, definitely if you see as an industry tradition, whenever the new service is launched, that obviously will expensive, right? If you take as a laptops or any physical server, the cost of the new physical laptop is definitely an expensive one comparatively the old one. But here we are other way. So the moment when you are actually seeing the new launch instance, the cost of the new instance will be lesser, and we will advise you to move to the lesser cost instances. Why? Because you trusting on us and providing the entire infrastructure services, and you believing on us and running your business applications. At the same time, we want to give back our services to customers. So the moment when you are launching, we are also offering the price advantage to customers. Okay, this is one of the things. How are we going to achieve that? We do something called a well-architected review program to your infrastructure. This program will help you out to understand your infrastructure better way, like what are the old instances you're running, what kind of database you're running, and what kind of security parameters you are using to protect your infrastructure. This program will help you. During that program, you're going to understand the pricing philosophy also. Okay, this is one of the best advantage, and it's a free of cost to do a service for you from our side. Okay. Yeah, we are a Gartner leader quadrant. From 2006 to till now, we are the leaders in the market. I can confidently say that, and we have competition, but they are all behind our. They're following our footprints. I can say it that way. Okay. So, what is a global reach? So, whenever you think about launching any virtual machine, okay, you're talking about a public cloud, right? Basically, public cloud means it is somewhere around the globe, and there we are actually starting accessing the services. Correct. So when you're talking about that, how the infrastructure look like, okay? So the physical infrastructure is going to be like located somewhere, and there we're going to start providing a high availability and also providing the infrastructure fully secure and everything. On top of it, we are providing the virtual machines. But what you are seeing as a customer, you only can see the virtual machines, not the entire infrastructure, right? But this presentation will help you how to understand the infrastructure, how the infrastructure is very strong, and how it is highly available, why we are so much confident to provide you virtual machines with zero downtime. Okay, so when we started our journey, okay, so we actually started like with 4 regions. Later we have grown up to 7 regions, and like that in 2016 to 2022 we have added up 19 regions more, and also we are coming up with 5 more regions. So I'm going to explain you about the region and availability zones in the coming slides. Okay, this is about just an understanding of how the AWS is actually offering the cloud services. Okay, we're going to discuss about more cloud services on the coming slides. So this is about availability zone. It's simple to understand. Availability zone is nothing but multiple data centers are highly available. Let's take the laser pointer so that easy to point out. Okay, this is called availability zone in a region. Okay, we have something called transit gateway 1 and transit gateway 2. I have a detailed diagram in the coming slide. There also you can have a clear idea, but this is a glance about how the availability zone look like, what are the things are running inside. Okay, so each availability zone will have a data centers, not single data center. Okay, you can imagine the data center means in your office also, maybe there is an IT room. In that IT room, you can see there is a corner where there are multiple racks are captured and multiple servers installed and switches and air cooling power system, right? A similar concept of data center will be running here, but it is in a large scale, not a small scale. Okay, like that we have availability zones contains with multiple data centers. Okay, I'm talking about only one availability zone contains multiple data centers. Okay, like that in every region we will make sure at least 3 availability zones are presented for you, like AC1, AC2, AC3 and AC4. So each availability zone contains of data centers. Okay, on what situation you may require these many availability zones? For example, we are running a service called database services. like that's called RDS, Relational Database Service. Okay, when you're running a database service, as an IT administrators, I can understand your challenges are every day you are need to update the patches or backup or taking a snapshot of database and make sure the database is available at all, right? These are like daily jobs you're going to perform in your data center. So when you are actually adopting this database services example, then this availability zone concept will help you out spread across the data between the availability zones. Okay, then it will ensure this database is available in 100% for you without any downtime. And second thing is we also help you out to do the patches and other regular jobs like backup and snapshots or whatever you are trying to take, trying to protect the database. Those responsibility will lies on AWS. We will take care of your entire database maintenance in simple to understand. Okay, so in that concept, this multi-availability zone concept will help you how to adopt. Okay, so this is how a simple example I told. It's different examples we can use it, but as an understanding, this is the example we can use it. Okay, and this is the availability zone connections, how it is connected with the different regions and within a region how the availability zones are connected. Okay, this is how the network design is formed between availability zones. Okay, example, this is the transit gateway 1 and 2 where the internet and other services are coming. So it will actually pumping up the services between other availability zone, and it is highly available because if you see one connection is not stopping at one point, it has spread across with multiple connectivities. Okay, then this is called global edge locations. For example, where the edge location concept will work for you, it's simple to understand. Today most of the people here in the conference having an access to Netflix. Okay, so but in Saudi Arabia we don't have a Netflix, but still we are able to access the Netflix and able to watch, right? How it is actually happening because of the edge location. So we have something like a cache devices where the streaming services can be using this service to telecast the video content to on demand. Okay, this is simple example. So it can be used for multiple purposes, multiple database. There are like database cache also there. So all these integration services can be available here to deliver the cache services. Okay, this is a sample example of availability. There you have a detailed explanation, but this can give you a little bit more wider picture. Okay, here transit center 1 and transit center 2, actually this will help you how to supply the power, cooling and the network connectivity, all the necessaries required to run a data center. It will operate from 1 to 2. Okay, and now why there is a 1 and there is a 2? Okay, because we want to ensure that TC1 and TC2 also highly available, because in case this goes down, in case of any power fluctuation, some human errors have happened, this site is down. Okay, we should not interrupt our data center services, right? So that's the reason we have another operation center where this is completely managed by a different I can say different power supply company. From there we can talk about, for example, maybe STC providing the internet connectivity here and Mobili providing internet connectivity here, for example. Okay, like that another company, ABC company, provide a power supply here and XYZ company provide a power supply here, so that in case of any challenges it will goes down. Then we should not have any challenges in supplying the services to our data center. That's why we are maintaining this. And here, as I explained you, we have data centers. All data centers are multiple data centers are connected with the highly available links here. Okay, like that we have availability, other availability zones also connected properly here. Okay, so before jumping into, I'm going to check the chart. There is some questions raised. Let me try to answer it. Okay, no, there's no question, I think. Okay, in case you have any questions, feel free to ask. We can try to answer as much as possible. Okay, now we're going to talk about, we understand now what is the region, what is the availability zone, how the data centers look like. So now actually we're talking about the core subject. What is the compute services? Okay, so what do you mean by compute services? Okay, today we talk about anything, we're going to run the entire operations on compute, right? For example, be it your Exchange server, be it your database server, okay, or SAP infrastructure, basically talking about. So these all are running on virtual machines. Okay, Those virtual machines in AWS is called instances. Okay, here you can see that instances. So in AWS language, if instance means it's a virtual machine, simple to understand. That virtual machine is called EC2. Why EC2? Because E means elasticity. Then C means compute and cloud services. Okay, and AWS ECS and EKS are container services, Kubernetes services, and Fargate. Okay, and we have Lambda. AWS Lambda is like a serverless architecture. Okay, why there is a difference between EC2 and Lambda? I just give an example. EC2 gives you the compute and power, like running the higher applications like SAP and large scale database services. Lambda basically help you to run your functions. Okay, like functions means what? For example, you are running a code like C, C++, Java kind of codes. You want to run some functions, or for example, you are running a web application service. Okay, or you are running an e-commerce application. These are the modernized applications. It's called microservices. Okay, in short, to understand microservices. These microservices can run on Lambda. Okay, so that's why Lambda is used on a particular use case, and EC2 can be used on a particular use case. It's simple to understand. Mission critical or any other related to high performance issues will be running on EC2. Lambda can be run like web application, and e-commerce based application can be run on Lambda functionality. Containers and Kubernetes are specific workloads which need a containerized service that can be run on containers. Okay. So in EC2, what is the things you can see? Linux and Windows, and we have x86 platform. We have something like general purpose and workload optimization, and we have like bare metal and network capabilities, and AWS package and custom made, and community AMIs, and multi-purpose options like, for example, multi-purchase options like on-demand and reserved instance and spot instances. I'm going to explain you in coming slides. Okay. This is about what hardware we are using, how this solution is working, how the operating system is actually going on. Okay. Today we are actually running with Intel, NVIDIA, and AMD processors and ARM processors. So Intel is everybody knows, and NVIDIA basically using for graphic cards. Okay. Today we talk about Avatar movie, right? We are talking about Avatar, the Way of Water. The entire movie rendered on AWS cloud. I can proudly say that. And those machines are running on AWS cloud, and those guys are using NVIDIA cards inside the cloud platform. AMD is simple like competition to Intel. It also runs on their own algorithms and microprocessor chips and all. So it is actually using and recommended by the application vendor. If the application vendor says it is also sufficient for them, we can provide an AMD system also. ARM processor, basically we talk about ARM processor on cloud-based system. Okay, sorry, not cloud-based system. It's like mobile-based applications. For example, you are running a mobile-based application and you are trying to developing a mobile-based application that can be run on ARM processor. So each application required a specific process. We are available. We are supplying this specific processor to customers to run their applications. Okay, here is the key. Okay, today. Now we understand what is the region, what is availability zones and everything. Now we are understanding like what is the pricing model. So today, any cloud service or particularly for AWS cloud services is pay as you go model. Okay, it's very simple. You are in a room and you switch on the light and you consume this light for another 1 hour, 2 hours of time frame, and you switch off the light example. So when the bill comes to you by the electrical company, they will only charge you for 1 hour, 2 hour, whatever light you consume, right? They will not charge you the entire day of power supply. It's as simple as that in a cloud service also. The moment when you start using it, you are going to pay that only. You're not going to pay the entire reserve. Like for example, you are taking a service for the longer period, you're not using them, you're not going to pay them. Okay, it's called pay as you go model. Whatever service you consume, you're going to pay that. However, we have different options available for customers on pricing version. So for example, on demand, you're actually launching a project, and this project time frame you're thinking only 2 months and 3 months. Okay, that time we recommend you to use on demand instance because you are having a challenge that you want to quit the project as soon as possible, and you're not no longer working for a long-term contract with any for the AWS service, for example. That time you can use an on-demand service, and you can quit the project any point in time. For example, reserved how it will work. For example, your SAP infrastructure. In SAP infrastructure itself, you have a test and development, and you have a production service, correct? In generally, the best practice, the production servers are never changed. Okay, like for example, there's a fixed memory like 256 GB of memory, for example. This is not changed multiple times. Okay, so what we can do here smartly, we can take a reserved instances for a production system, like for example 1 year and 3 years long period. And test and development infrastructure, generally, according to my experience, they are changing. Like for example, there's a sometimes demand is high, demand is low. Test and development infrastructure, like fluctuation is there. So you can keep the test and development infrastructure on demand. Production systems, you can keep it for a reserved instance model for a longer period. Okay, these two pricing models will work for SAP infrastructure. For example, spot instance pricing model, this is not related to SAP, but I'm giving an idea. For example, you're running an e-commerce website, and there is a demand in the peak time. For example, Ramadan, during the some Black Friday, White Friday times. Okay, there is a huge demand is on that time. You're not expected the users are reaching to your website for a multiple times, so like multiple number of users are increasing. Then your system need to be sustained, right? It should not go down or crash. So that time, what will happen is you create an auto scaling group for your web application, and you make sure this auto scaling group application only run for 1 or 2 hours as per your frequency. That time, whatever your service you use, that is charged on a spot instance pricing model. Okay, this is as simple as that. But for SAP infrastructure, you can understand an on-demand and reserved instance pricing model. Okay, so these are the EC2 type of instances. Okay, and we are going to talk about like around 243 instance types we are available, and each instance has a different pricing model. How you can simply can understand this, you can imagine this instance types like your t-shirt size. You have a small, medium, large, and also you have like XL, right? Double XL t-shirt size, right? So each t-shirt has its own purpose. Like for example, a small guy can wear S size, double XL guy can wear a double XL guy. So if you, for example, you exchange both of them, for example, small goes to double XL and double XL goes to small guy, it will not appropriate, right? Like, so similar way, when you are launching application or instance, it has to go as per the need and as per the size. Okay, most of the times, SAP infrastructures can run on R instance because there is a specific calculations, specific methodology we have to follow. There is a recommendations are there from SAP team to AWS team also, that we have, when you are running an SAP infrastructure, you need to choose a specific model only. Okay, that those information my colleague in the coming slide they cover, but I'm just giving an idea to. Okay, so today now we understand what is EC2 and what is the total services and how the pricing model working. Now we're going to talk about networking. So networking is a very important topic because whatever you create, you have to get an idea that how the traffic is moving around, right? How you need to create your own network, how you're going to segregate that. Okay, in networking, the main concept is VPC. It's a virtual private cloud. Also, it's called a virtual private network. What do you mean by this? It's very simple. It's a virtual network which is actually segregating, or it will dictating that it is a network for your own company. Nobody has any choice to interrupt that network. It is clearly written rules and regulations inside the system. The moment when you start creating a VPC network, it will automatically forms your virtual network, and there is something like security groups inside. You can write your own policy. There is a network access list. Okay, there you going to create your own policies. Okay, now this is a major thing. All the solutions will be running around this. For example, your instance is not getting an internet, then you have to go and check on VPC only. Then there is an internet is getting looking outside the network, then there is a policy has to be arranged on VPC. Okay, there is something called elastic IP. This is specifically for any particular application need to have a public IP access. That time you can use this one. Okay, and there is something called direct connect, where physical, so for example,
So Vidya, can I take a crack at Majid's question? Question?
Sure, Ali. Yeah.
So basically, the way we've been doing things with our clients is that DR has 2 types. Okay, so if we are talking about a high availability SAP setup, okay,
Yes.
what we do is, as Vidya mentioned, we are running, for example, production in Bahrain and high availability in Frankfurt. Okay, so that when there is a failover, it goes into Frankfurt. But now, because there is a region, that region has 3 zones. So we can work as DR, if you will, in our terms, in that particular region itself, right? But for customers that have mission critical 24/7 operations, from our experience, they are preferring to have, multiple 0.9 availability. And that's where we start using different regions to deploy SAP S/4HANA in a high availability environment, utilizing multiple regions. Sorry, Vidya, I took on this question from an SAP perspective because I know that Majid is also running, among other things, an SAP environment. So you can maybe elaborate from a non-SAP perspective as well, if the answer would be different from what I mentioned.
No, it's clear actually. So yeah, so the DR concept, I just added another point to that. So we plan the DR generally in a cold DR and hot DR concept. So what do you mean by this? For example, a mission critical application required highly available, then we plan a hot DR. So that means you run a production in a, for example, Bahrain as production is running, and also you have another running mission available on Frankfurt also. That is called hot DR. So that means any point of time, if any DR production goes down, the DR will immediately can support the entire operations. That's called hot DR. There is another question that cold DR means the for example, Bahrain is running the production, but you need to have a copy of data to be available in Frankfurt. Okay, in case any disaster happens to Bahrain, you need to have a readily available system to build entire thing. Okay, that time what will happen? This cold DR concept will work there. That means this data, whatever running on Bahrain, that will be synced there and readily available in EBS volume directly. Okay, how it is going to function to you? That, for example, Bahrain goes down, immediately this disk can be converted to attached to the virtual machines and start functioning from there. That's a different topic actually, but I'm just giving an idea that we have something called a cloud elastic disaster recovery tool. That tool will do all these activities. Okay, fine. Okay, thank you, Majid, and thanks, Ali. Thanks for giving us some more idea on this. Okay. Great. Okay, I'm just moving to the next things. Okay, so what you can see in the network, it's very simple. You can also see like IP address, subnets, and network topologies, routing table, as simple as your own network. Like for example, today you go to your laptop, go to your network, and you can see all these things. So similarly, there's no too much complication in our networking system. You can also see as simple as that. Okay. Now we can actually create your own network between two availability zones. For example, availability zone 1 and the availability zone 2, you can form and you can extend your network. Why we need to do this? For example, you are running SAP infrastructure, for example, in private subnet, and you also have a web applications, for example. Those web applications you can run on public network. For example, your company website. Okay, you can run on a company website on public network, but you can run your SAP infrastructure on private network. Why we have to create this? Because the SAP infrastructure belongs to your organization and your operation purpose. But website that can be reachable to every customer, right? So who is trying to understand your company and what is your company and what are the achievements you have done, those information available here. So we can create a clear path here that the private network only communicated with the company people and public system only can communicate it with your public users or internet users, I can say. Okay, this is how we're going to run. So now we have finished the understanding of SAP in general. What is AWS in general. Now we are going to talk about SAP on AWS. Okay, so SAP journey is started in 2008 in our company in AWS. Okay, we started in 2006, but we have also participated with SAP to journey in 2008. So in every innovation of SAP, we are there with them. So 2014 is SAP HANA Quick Start. Okay, like that in 2020, also we have actually as for HANA concept, whatever they are launched, we are still with them. And also we are supporting the SAP infrastructure with there's something called a backend software where it can be used for a backup purpose. I'm going to talk about more of that in the coming slides. Okay, this is how the journey is begun. So we are not new to SAP to run on AWS cloud. Okay, so we are already almost begin our journey along with SAP also in 2008. This slide is actually giving you what are the new innovations SAP has started, and also they are starting with AWS also. They are also participating in our journey as well. Okay, so running on AWS and recently co-invented. So what do you mean co-invented is that SAP some services you can directly enable from AWS. Okay, that's called co-invented. There are some services where you can also run on AWS platform like S4HANA and other things we can run directly on AWS cloud platform. Okay, so how to choose the right instance and all, like what is the methodology we need to follow, will going to come in other presentation. Okay, so today who are all the customers we are having globally? These are the customers we are actually holding, and most of the big names are running their SAP infrastructure on AWS cloud platform. Okay, so these are the customers list globally who are actually successfully and happy customers, and industry wise also you can consider like financial and manufacturing and retail and public sector and energy and natural resources. These are different type of customers according to their business needs. Okay, and we are the leaders for HANA infrastructure. It is recognized by ISG, recognized this one, and we are leaders in providing SAP on AWS services. Okay, and these are the instances types, like what is the program we can run and what type of instance we can choose according to your memory needs and growing big, how it is going to be chosen, what are the selected type of instances and all. Okay, any questions on this? So these are the competency for the partners who are all like, no, this belongs to more into the SAP partners actually, and these are the current SAP competency partners available in the market. Okay, and how are we going to decide on SAP? So we're going to talk about assess. First we do an assessment and we do mobilize and migration and modernization process. Okay, and assessment you're going to understand the TCO assessment and migration and planning, and this will my colleague Syed Azim going to talk about more on this slide of assess and mobilize and the migration process, but I'm just giving a glance about how the generic process. For example, today you decided to go to AWS cloud. Okay, this is the process we can suggest you to go with. This will give you a better understanding of going to AWS cloud. Maybe there is sometimes you will be over provisioned with some resources. For example, there is a memory is high, but you're not using that much memory. So when you do an assessment, then we understand what type of memory you're using and everything. And remaining, like what is the plan of action you can take it, and how much you're going to save when you migrate to AWS cloud. Okay, this is a this is about the AWS backend. So today you are running in SAP HANA and you migrated with SAP HANA example, and backend agents are free of cost and readily available backup solution for you on AWS cloud platform. Okay, so how it's going to work is we're going to connect with the SAP backup system, and we're going to using a backend system, and we're going to run a backup like scheduling, like policies like daily, incremental, and full backup everything. Then we can move the backup files to S3 bucket directly. So when you're actually talking about SAP on AWS cloud, the backup also covered here. So you don't need to spend additional money to take a backup solution also on AWS platform. Okay, so this is how we are covered. So now we understand what is the region, what is the AWS services, and what are the instances and network and SAP, and what is the journey where we started, how we have grown up, and what are the policy like migration methodology, I can say, how we're going to follow it, and what is the backend agent, how the backup solution is working. So this is about SAP on AWS journey and the services. Now we're going to talk about only a few slides on what are the additional services. Okay, apart from the AWS, SAP on AWS, we also have additional services like IoT devices, mission critical applications, and migrations, and also security. For example, you built and everything, and you need to write a policy for security like IAM, identity access management rules and regulations. All these things you can do it on AWS cloud platform. So like that, as I mentioned in the starting, like 200 plus services, right? These are the additional 200 plus services are running on AWS cloud. Okay, so that's it from me, and we have additional services also from marketplace. So that's an additional chapter. Like for example, you are planning to buy SUSE Linux operating system; those licenses are available in marketplace. Okay, and thank you. And any questions, I'm available here. I can address to you. Okay, and I'm
Thank
hand
you,
over to
Vidya.
Syed. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Vidya. I would like to announce that we have shared our survey on the chat box. So please, audience, if you can take a second, either during the webinar or after the webinar, to fill up the survey. We would like to hear from your side. Mr. Said, please take it over.
Thank you, Ahmad. Thank you very much, Vidya. Thank you, Ali, for joining us, and thank you all the buddy participants present out there. A warm welcome from Reddington and AWS and from the Motivate side. You guys can able to see my screen?
Yes, we see it, Said.
Okay, great. Let's get started. Thank you, guys. Thank you once again. I'll just get to introduce myself. My name is Azan. I'm the SAP practice lead from the Meta region and lead also Dubai office. So we have already my colleague Vidya and Ali has already been briefed about lots of technology about EC2, SAP on AWS, why SAP on AWS. So I'll talk about more in deeper and high level. Most importantly, why SAP on AWS. Then we have talked. There is so much in the news where SAP is talking about Rise with SAP, and most importantly, the benefits like what being offered by AWS and Reddington being the aggregator and to help the partner and the customer to get all those benefit passed on. And AWS migration methodology, what all are those phases present and how we do all those migration assessment phase. So we have seen lots of talk about on like SAP and AWS. So the basic question comes, why SAP customer choose AWS? So there are the other hyperscalers available in the market, but why SAP choose customer? So this slides, so I'll present about like unmatched experience and industry leadership. So when you talk about SAP and AWS, so SAP is not new with the relationship with AWS. It's been more than 14 years where SAP has been using AWS very drastically, and it has been all those SAP services when you talk about BTP and other C4C and hybrids are been extensively used on AWS only. Then we move out on the comprehensive industry leading security and compliance. When it's come to the cloud, there is a major and basic question being asked by the customers: why? What about the security? So how the cloud is secure? So I want to answer on this front. There is an American Navy which use NS2, one of the most secure networks. They are on AWS. So I'll just take it as a like when American Navy and Army can use it, then why don't the customers can use the same with AWS? Then AWS comes with offer a customer choice and flexibility. So AWS offers a choice and flexibility for the customer. So like my previous colleagues that they have already walked you through, they come with the reserve instances, pay on all as you go model. So anytime like customer can upsize and increase the load that they are working on AWS. Then proven cost saving. So there's in the coming slides I'll be talking about more. Like there has been a proven cost saving when it comes to the local on-prem customers who are using hardware. When they move to cloud, there a proper TCO and ROI has been given. That lets they have been reduced at least from 30 to 33% when they move their infrastructure to the cloud. Then modernization and transformation. There are a lot of modernization each year is being coming and introduced to the in the AWS workspace, where it's talking about SAP and non-SAP services. Then it's a more reliable and extensive cloud infrastructure. Yes, no doubt on that front. When it comes to extensive other services on SAP, AWS is the winner. So I request, like in between, I'll take a pause for each slide. If any questions from any of my of the people present in the webinar, please, I'll be more than happy to answer. So
Said,
now
can
this
you
slide,
hide the showing the screen, the one is below? Can you hide it? Yeah.
yeah,
Thank you.
okay. This slide already, my colleague, I'll just will take a few minutes on again on that. So as my colleague Vidya said, we've been extensively with working with 30 years more than parallel with AWS region. If you see this, you see the innovation starting from 2008 and till 2022. What has been the innovations has been done with the starting from the SAP, S4HANA, ECC, BTP, and most of the services has been present with the AWS. So SAP Innovations Platform of Choice. So when it's talk about SAP on AWS, there are certain services which are extensively working on AWS. Like when you talk about like C4C, which is your CRM, when you talk about the NS2 services, SAP Concur, there are the few services which are extensively running on AWS services. Okay, so when you talk about RISE, SAP Data Warehouse, S4HANA Cloud, so you see the innovation in this slide. So whatever the services we talk about SAP, it's all present in AWS. This is again we being the leaders in the Gartner. My colleague Vidya has already been explained. So now these are the recent innovations for SAP on AWS. So this is a brief about the slide where previously my colleague had discussed about the EC2, the Amazon EBS, Airflow. These are the recent innovations where AWS is coming and introduced to the SAP workflow. So I'll take a few minutes on the EC2 instances where you work all your host, new instances, SAP including R5B and storage optimized virtual VMs and all those lakes being done on the EC2 instances. Then we have Amazon EBS, new storage for the SAP, then Amazon Airflow, a native integration of data from SAP to AWS services, where you are migrating and you are doing the lift and shift, where all those services come into the picture. Then Amazon CloudWatch, application insight for S4HANA, easily to observe and for S4HANA to identify and resolve the issue faster. Then AWS Launch Wizard, AWS Backnet, AWS Well Architect Lens for SAP, and AWS Training Certificate. So these are in-depth. There's been innovation has been done by AWS on the SAP front. So what are the applications where you help in the migration and for the rehost, refactor, S4HANA? It talks about all those data lakes has been present on the AWS front. So this is the slide where I was about to talking previously when it comes to the saving. So you can reduce the SAP total cost of ownership, and Reddington and altogether Ultimate will help the customer by bringing this right skill set. So when you choose like a hyperscale, especially on AWS, to taking like reducing like moving forward from on-prem to the cloud, there was a last infrastructure upgrade you will have to make. So it has been proved by IDC and this is the future 30% average infrastructure cost saving from AWS customers. This is a proven thing. Then same with the Frobster, 103%, 3 years of ROI from beginning SAP ECC to AWS. Then yes, industry leading automation to reduce labor cost and programs and migration innovation for SAP customers. Now, reduce labor cost with the industry leading automation. Yes, when you move from on-prem to the cloud, there where you reduce your S4HANA deployment time by more than 75% with the AWS launch wizard. That's why I talked previously. With the launch wizard, you can reduce more than 75% of it. So this is I'll talk in a bit brief. When it's talk about, there was so much in talk SAP with native, with SAP with RISE, like customers are already using on ECC on premise now. They're the option where they can whether either they move to S4HANA and host it on AWS, or they give it RISE, or they keep it native. So we just have understanding what RISE is SAP. What, like, there is so much in 1.5 year back, SAP launched a new program which is RISE with SAP. So what is RISE actually, and what is it? So RISE is with SAP is an S4HANA offering. It is an upgraded version of S4HANA. It includes software, licensing, cloud infrastructure, and managed services in a single contract from SAP. So SAP comes and with a single contract when it offered all those services, top of Hybris, a basis part which is managed by SAP. So now there's a choice between customer. So whether I to move to the SAP RISE or SAP on native. So what it takes and who are the customers who can do this. So migration approach. So short-term S/4HANA migration required. When it's come to the RISE, choosing RISE, there is a short-term S/4HANA migration required. When you talk about native, there is a lift and shift, move to SUIT HANA or migrate to S/4HANA. So these are the operations when it's come to the migration approach. Now the management. SAP manage the infrastructure and software. In the RISE, SAP is the one who will manage the infrastructure and the software part. When it's come to the native, it is the customer, the partner manage the infrastructure and the software part. When at the extensibility, extended with SAP Business BTP services on AWS, all provided combined. So there is a BTP services where SAP is focusing and saying keep the core clean and take the rest to the BTP services. So SAP is focusing and asking like keep your core clean, don't do much customization. When it comes to the customization, take it to the BTP services. And where in the native, extended by natively integrated with all 200 AWS services is there. And compliance, general compliance framework has been offered in the RISE. And when it's come to the native, it is industry and country specific compliance framework is there. So customer get a benefit, like if they are looking for a localization compliance thing with the KSA or globally the GC is another one. So it is native offers that, but in RISE, it is a general compliance framework. When the pricing industry in infrastructure, software subscription, software support, and technical managed services by the RISE package by or SAP, and includes in the native infrastructure, bringing you can have your BYOL licenses and your support from SAP app and data center OS work with the AWS partner. Now optimization. SAP landscape set the RISE contract with the optimized to RAVE and the year during the term, and in the native maximum flexibility to optimize your architecture operation. So customer has a choice on the basis of how they are growing, how they like they're growing, and what like other opportunities they have, how they want to grow in the different market. So in the term, customer has the choice whether either to move with RISE with SAP or SAP on native. So this is the difference and how it differentiate with each other. I'll take a pause here. Any questions? Silent. Okay, I'll move forward. Okay, I'll take the slide, simplify the S/4HANA journey with Reddington and LTV. So guys, I missed one thing, like when you talk about AWS, so Reddington is the only distributor for the AWS in the region, and where we are bringing and bridging the gap, helping our customers and partners and bringing all those benefits to help and winning the deals. Okay. So where Altivate and Reddington will be focusing more on the customers to what pass on the benefits and whatever it's there on the technical from the AWS and SAP front will be there and front-ending you to support you guys. Only AWS offer RISE customers that widest select SAP BTP service in the most number of regions. So most of the BTP services is only available with the AWS. We talk about the other hyperscalers, it's not comparison with the AWS. So clean the core. So as I slightly said in the last slides, 90% SAP customers use customer codes. A typical ERP has many custom objects in thousands. So SAP recommend RISE customer use SAP BTP low code or no code, like SAP Everywhere built on AWS. So SAP recommend the BTP services where they say keep the core clean. Maintain an ABAP investment. 90% of SAP customer code is done in ABAP. 90% customer is valid, important, extremely critical. So SAP BTP services come to the picture and play a very important role. Then ensure master data quality. S/4HANA customer need to consolidate and centralize all your IBP and SuccessFactors and Ariba. Now, this is the only AWS where it offers when it's come to the DR. There was a question in the feel like from the previous my colleague on the DR side. So short range DR and we have a long range DR. So where we have a like DR side where recovering point of object is 0 for the short range and it is for the 30 minutes. So this is the most important critical when it's come to the DR. So AWS is the only one hyperscaler which only AWS provides RPO of 0 short range for the DR. It is the only hyperscaler which provide RPO for the 0 for the short range DR. So this is the slide where I'll be talking in depth. So, and it includes most of like funding programs, as rightly said, that being the AWS distributor Reddington in the for the Meta region. So it brings lots of fundings for the customers and our partners. And we being the aggregator, we helps be and then distribute the same to the people. So now when it's come to the simplifying migration to AWS, when there are customers who are on already running on SAP on ECC on-prem, and they are planning to move to S4HANA. So this is the process, and these are the each phase and the activity been done all together jointly by Reddington and Altivate, and what the benefits for each phase is available. So I'll be talking on the benefits on the for each phases. So let's talk about the first is SS phase. So when the customer start a journey, okay, let's evaluate, we want to move to do hyperscaler. Okay, let's take an example for the AWS. So the first step comes to the assessment, where we're Reddington all together with Ultimate, we come into the picture, we do assessment for the customer. Now, what does assessment take care of? So with your migration business case, we take care of rapid discovery, we'll provide our TCO analysis report, we'll provide the briefing and the workshops, cloud readiness and assessment. So this assessment, please, this is funded by AWS. It is free of cost. It will be jointly done by Reddington and LTV to the customer. Okay. So again, I'm saying it is not committed by the for the customers. It's not that like we have to sign a deal. It's not committed. So it will be free of cost. It will be performing 3 to 4 activities. Now in that case, how it goes in the assessment phase, we take a proper understanding about your right for your sizing, because when it's come to the especially on the SAP front, all the time SAP customer they upsize their infra. They always considered and they buy the more license and they always upsize their infrastructure by considering to tier downloads. This is where we come into the picture and we do a proper optimization of the infrastructure. Where we see maybe right now you are using 256 GB, and maybe once we do the proper optimization and see all the like the SAP services that you are using, might it will be only consuming 150 or less than 200. So there we do the proper optimization. We help you a proper total cost of ownership reports, a proper ROI. Till down it will take 2 to 3 weeks. Okay, so a proper analysis we will perform in the assessment phase, and we will provide a proper reports. Those report I'll be showing you after this slide. So this is again, this is not a committed assessment, and this is funded by AWS. So there is no charge for the customer. So in this assessment phase, customer have a visibility and a proper idea, like okay, if they are moving on the on the AWS, the what needs to be done and what actual infra they need to take it to the cloud. Am I clear? I'll take a pause on this on this bit. Okay. I'll move to the mobilize. Okay, what assessment is done, and let's say our customer says, okay, let's move to the mobilize phase. So this is also not there for the commitment. So we can do the mobilize phase. This is also funded. This is also a like benefit that will all together will come in and pass on all together with jointly with Ultimate to the customer. So what we do in the mobilize phase, so it will be a more like drill down activity where we'll do a we are going to do a prepare a landing zone for you. We are going to do a discovery and planning. We'll sit with each business user. We'll do a detailed business case. We will migrate governance with security and compliance will come into the picture, the operating model of the company, the migration experience, skill center of the experience. So these are in depth. We are going to perform the migration in the mobilize phase, and the benefit that the customer that they are going to get it. It's come when because it is a service like professional services code that be given by the Ultimate. So some part of that professional services will be funded through AWS to the customer. So here it will help you to further reduce down your implementation cost. So that benefits being the Reddington, being the aggregator, being the distributor, that all benefit will bring in and will try to pass it on to the downstream partners, and the same can be given to the customers. So idea is to help our customers to get the benefit and to be start winning on the AWS. So this is the in total in mobilize phase we are going to perform. Sorry, yeah. So in the last phase comes in the migration. It's migrate and modernize, where we take all your infra to the will migrate to AWS, and we start operating and modernizing all your thing from starting from the quality to production. Now here, what benefit as Reddington AWS can bring to the customer? Depends on the ARR. What ARR yearly will be coming on the pricing calculator. So up to that, so it depends. There's a vary. So up to a big part for the first year, there are credits that been given from the AWS that you can pass on directly to the customer. We are talking about somewhere 65 to up to 75% of customer credit. So like assume if your ARR for first year is 200,000, so up to 100 and like up to 60% of that it will be funded by AWS and directly can go to the credits to the customer account. So that is something huge. There is something like big numbers we are talking about when it's selecting the AWS. So they are the huge funding and benefit that can be passed on to the customers through Elevate and Reddington. Guys, any questions on the benefits, anything on these phases? Okay. I think I'm crystal clear than water. Okay, now how we perform this assessment? So we propose when we come to assessment, so we put a AWS migration evaluator tool into the system, into the infra, and then it will optimize all the reports, what existing SAP infrastructure, what are the consumption of those SAP instances and report, and it will take the decision jointly, and then we can only move those workload which are like which classified zombie and expected idle. So down you can see starting from analyze organization compute to all those four phases how it is going to be. I'll take on the for next slide. So this is how it is. Inventory discovery agent collector. So when we're putting the AWS migrator tool, install a new dedicated running server Windows, or we need a 2012 or R2 or greater with the local admin rights. Then support automatically upload daily inventory utilization. It will automatically upload it to the AWS web dispatcher. And then support data detection through manual exit code and manual manage console. So these, when we put the tool into the system, so it will directly will keep contacting and connecting to the VMwares, then Hyper-Vs and the bare metal and the SQL Server. So automatically it will be connecting and generating all the reports. So this is how the assessments will be done jointly from Reddington and LTV side. So I'll skip this. It is a migration readiness assessment over the same thing. So now this is the most important thing, the migration readiness assessment results. So this is somehow your results will look like your MRA area focus, then you will be MRA readiness scores, then MRA observation, actions and business cases. So a proper detailed report will be presented, and on the basis of that, you can take the decisions. So this is how the reports will look like, what you are using on-premise, and when it's moved to the AWS, how much was the on-premise, then how much was the AWS, and what is the total savings you can save it when it's moving from on-prem to cloud. So you can see on this particular example, it is 36% saving when moving from on-prem to AWS. Then you can see on instance classification. So you can see this kind of detailed reports will be presented like in use 18%, idle, unclassified, zombies and expected idle. So all those reports will be presented, and on the basis of that we can take the decision jointly, and then we can only move those workload which are like which classified and which is already used. Then these are the hardware demands, is lift or shift only. So these kinds of reports, all the hardware demands will be available, and this is the hardware and the workloads reports. So these kind of business summary reports will be presented once the assessment is done, and this will help in us in taking the decision flow. With this, I rest. Thank you very much for you guys for your time. I'm more than will be more than happy to answer all your questions when it comes to the fundings and all those benefits.
Thank you, Said. Thank you, Said.
Thank you. Thank you. Over to you.
We will get back to Mr. Ali to show us the case study that they have been done with some of the clients. So Mr. Ali, please take it over.
Okay, thank you. 1 second, please. So I hope you can see my screen now. So for us, AWS has been basically an underlying engine to drive business outcome. We primarily focus on AWS as a solution, or use AWS's portfolio of products as a series of solutions to drive business outcomes. So if you can look at my slide, I will talk a bit about what we've done with these different customers. And then I will talk about how AWS has helped us internally to translate value to customers. And then I'll go to a case study that validates a bit of what what Sayed and Vidya mentioned earlier. So, the mind-boggling thing about AWS is that you get up and running in no time. Okay, so we have one of the customers here. I don't want to name the name. It took them about 4 months to get license server quotes and the servers installed into their data center. Whereas with AWS, we have the image up and running in 3 minutes. Okay, so literally 3 minutes, the complete system is up and running. So we are cutting 4 months of time and effort into 3 minutes for a fully activated infrastructure for SAP S/4HANA. This is translated into savings across the organization and into accelerating time to value for our customers. In another one of our clients, or in several of these clients, whenever we need services to complement the SAP landscape, be it for application development, be it for infrastructure, for security, we are able to get up and running in less than a day. Okay, so this is value and speed that is unprecedented. Today, we have more than 30 engagements on AWS running. And it is not because, we like new technology. It is because of the power that AWS delivers from a business value standpoint. Another example I want to give is that one of our clients didn't have a backup environment set up for their SAP S/4HANA environment. That we were able to set up in 1 day. Okay, and interestingly enough, that as soon as the concern came, that issue was addressed in less than 24 hours. So the speed and the value that AWS provides to our SAP clients is unprecedented. We work with our clients for backup, we work for infrastructure, application development, for security, so on and so forth. The service is great. The add-ons from the marketplace that my colleagues mentioned here on the call are, unlimited. They're everything in the market that you need to run an environment. And most importantly, the ROI is clear. So I just wanted to take the time to outline these aspects. Okay. Now, if I go back into what AWS has provided us with, we have developed accelerated delivery of SAP solutions using AWS as the underpinning infrastructure. What that means is that we are able to get an up and running, fully activated SAP environment in 1 day. That usually used to take months, okay? Now in 1 day, fully activated S/4HANA up and running takes us 1 day. And this has translated into a lot of value for our customers, be it customers that are doing sandbox, be it customers that are doing demo, test, development, training, you name it, right? So we embed AWS because of the speed that it provides, accelerated time to value, reduced efforts by and large from a technical perspective, and with predictable cost, as my colleagues were mentioning from a TCO standpoint. One of the other innovations that we see And where we pushed to capitalize on AWS is a program that we call Altivate's Accelerator Program, where we utilize the power of the portfolio from AWS services to create tailored applications for specific use cases that the customer presents. So we go through a life cycle from defining the requirements, coming up with a minimal viable product, to fine-tuning development, user acceptance, and improvement using different components from AWS, such as image recognition, video recognition, text recognition, machine learning, speech recognition, and so on. As examples of these use cases that we have come up with are fraud detection in speech recognition, as scrap output for manufacturing lines to detect anomalies in finished and semi-finished goods, the automation of document or OCR for OCR text extraction from different documents for archiving, asset monitoring, inventory movement, all done using machine learning, using image and video processing, and the power of services that AWS provides. So if a client has a specific use case that we are not able to cater to in a standard application, we are happy to create, along with AWS and Reddington, an MVP for that customer to show the value that we are able to deliver with the set of services that AWS offers. And as a business outcome, this is where we look to drive differentiation for customers. Okay. And obviously, we try to do that in an agile, accelerated approach. Now, I want to spend some time to talk just very quickly about the ROI that we have seen with one of our customers. We have a published case study for Gulf Medical Company. They were running S/4HANA on premise, and then they moved. You don't need to read this text, it's too much, but you can read the case study on AWS's website, where the customer saved 40% year over year in hardware costs. So I think Sayed was talking about 30. In this case, we achieved 40, increased uptime to 99%. So 40% savings, as opposed to buying new hardware, as opposed to moving to RISE with SAP. That is an option. But in this case, we took the licenses that the client had for on-premise, put them on AWS, and that achieved 40% hardware cost savings. And today we have uptime of over 99% for that customer. They're very happy. They're expanding the services with AWS. So for me, if I am talking about the business value that we deliver to customers, it is these savings of delivering a very solid solution to the customer, coupled with S/4HANA, being able to do upgrades, being able to do patching, security, backup, etc., high availability, with very little effort and very quick turnaround. So this was the case that we had with Gulf Medical Group. I just wanted to present this one case in particular. And when we share these slides, the team, you will have the link here, as you can see in the bottom of the slide, where you can read more about this customer. So that's it from my end. Ahmed, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Ali. Thank you, Mr. Ali. I would like to remind the audience, please just fill up the survey that we have been shared on the chat box. We would like to hear from your side. And really thank you for attending today's webinar. You can ask whenever you have any question. We are here to answer your question. So if you have any question, please just write it on the chat box. And also we have shared our contact details from Altivate and my contact details. If you have any inquiry or any support that you need from our side, we are here to support you at any time. So I believe there is no any question. I believe, gentlemen, we can end up the session now. Thank you for attending today, our speakers and our audience for attending today webinar. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for attending.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.